Start streaming. Let's check on all these settings. I might have changed some stuff I didn't mean to. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. All right, we are going to try and fix Jim's phone. So Jim sent me this phone, and Jim says, Jim's got a big long note, and Jim said, Jessa, you can keep this phone, but I just want you to tell me what was wrong with it. So let's see if we can help out Jim. And let's see also if I can see some chat. Yes, it looks like everything's working. All right, so here's the note. This is a 6+. Jessa, to help with your diagnosis, permit me to give you a lengthy recap. At about the same time, this phone developed multiple problems of, number 1, a completely unresponsive touchscreen, which is going to be touch disease because it's a 6+. Number 2, inability to turn off, and number 3, inability to charge. My daughter attempted to charge the phone using the lightning cable directly into the port of a USB wall outlet charger. So she plugged the cable directly into an outlet. Now that by itself isn't a big deal as long as you're using the bona fide, trusted, protected cable that's made for iPhone or a certified MFI cable. So the cable really is kind of your surge protector. So plugging it into one of the, some kind of a random charger brick isn't a big deal, but if you combine that with also having a replacement cable, then that can be a big deal. So let's see, 3 problems developed simultaneously. I thought that this was possibly due to the fact that the phone was incorrectly charged and that this had somehow damaged the phone. Perfectly reasonable thinking there, Jim. Thought that might have happened by using a generic port, contrary to the instructions stating to use the USB port on a PC written in the iPhone user manual. Jim, you read the user manual. You are on a good track here, which is why I really like this case, because you've really done everything right. You've done everything that you could do, and it's unclear, and this is a message for everybody, of you really have to use the made for iPhone certified cables, and that's really what got you into a lot of this trouble. And then, of course, the iPhone touch disease is pretty classic for iPhone 6+. So you went on the assumption that incorrect charging may have damaged the battery and was the cause for the woes, so you went ahead and you changed the battery. But it didn't help anything. So more research indicated that it's not necessarily using a generic USB charge port. So subsequently, you took the phone to Apple, and Apple geniuses did a, quote, hard reset without success in fixing the problem, because you can't use a software solution to fix a hardware problem. So they didn't have any success, and so they suggested that the next logical step was touchscreen replacement. Total waste of time, nothing wrong with your screen. So they suggested that, but then they opened it up, saw the replacement battery, and they considered your phone tampered with and refused to do the replacement. In the process, they did, intentional or not, tighten down the 2 pentalobe screws with so much torque and disregard that they cross-threaded and stripped them, making it impossible to remove them, hence the hole damage that you can see here. So this is, this is unfortunate. So we've got some dug out pentalobes on this bad boy. So you had to drill one out, pry out the other one to get the phone back in. After more research, you found out about the infamous touch disease and saw a jerry-rigged fix on YouTube, which I attempted. That would be a piece of sticky foam or something like that that we saw back there. So 2 small pieces of duct tape you'll find on the touchscreen chips. This, in addition to the previous battery replacement, did not correct the issues. This is when I gave up, and that's where things currently stand. Thanks for reading this. The phone is yours. Hope it is of some benefit. And he really just wants to know what's up. So let's help out Jim. Let's see if we can give Jim the peace of mind of seeing what's wrong. So first, before we even start, chat, what do you think is up with this phone? So we've got a whole bunch of highs from Brazil and London and the UK, Belfast, Denmark, genius. All right. Touch IC, bad charge port, but more than likely TriStar. All right, yeah, so Cam's got to guess that this is touch disease, and And he's right. So we've kind of sped up a little bit here. I've opened up the phone. Now the first thing that I did with this phone, so I will put it back. This is your logic board. I'm going to put it back here in the housing just kind of loosely. And we're going to just ask, can it actually boot before we do anything else? So this phone is now sort of going to teach the world a whole bunch of things. And I used it the other day as a really classic example of touch disease, although I haven't yet done the repair. But we'll walk you through all that. All right, let's get this plugged in at least here at the charge port. I'm going to do that under the microscope because I'm blind and have to meet the school bus. So we're on the clock here. Oh, what is holding this up? That guy. Get back under there. Alrighty. All right, how you doing, chat? Hello from Nigeria. Well, we're all over the world today. What's up, world? Hey, world, have you found that the internet is kind of a sad place? That's what I'm finding. My new job here at iPad Rehab, at least I'm on a little bit of a digital marketing sabbatical, which everybody can see. And I was having a lot of fun designing ads and learning about how to do newsletters and fun stuff like that. But man, my camera! If you live your life on the internet, that certainly takes a toll. The internet is not a fun place to hang out, that's for sure. It's funny, it's like the best of worlds and the best of times and the worst of times. Today is International Women's Day. I got a super nice note from my buddy Pete Campbell, who was a former student, right at the same time as getting another note from somebody telling me, "You're just like Donald Trump." What? How can the same person be like, "She's a saint, she's Donald Trump"? Same person, that's what the internet does to you. Okay, here we go. This is back in its housing, and I'm going to connect the battery. And now we're going to ask it, can you charge? Now we're going to ask it, can you charge, by looking at a straight up USB ammeter. So let's take this USB ammeter, which, let's see if I can move this around here. Here we go. So I've got this USB ammeter plugged into another phone. I'm going to disconnect the other phone. So this other phone over here is charging normally at about 1 amp. That's the red number. Boop. So I disconnected the charging cable. This is a made for iPhone certified cable. This is the one that we use and sell here at iPad Rehab. And I'm going to now plug it into Jim's phone. And let's see what happens if we ask Jim's phone, "Hey, Jim's phone, can you charge?" Yes, it can. So there's Jim's phone is charging just fine. So that tells us that, here's Jim's phone, it is able to charge just fine. It doesn't really have a board level charging problem. So why does Jim think that it doesn't charge? So let's take this cable away, and I am going to now swap in the beautiful, lovely pink cable, which I really like. It's so cute. I love pink. Who doesn't love pink? I'm sure all you guys love pink. Let's connect Jim's pink cable. Christy, don't you love pink cables?
They are very pretty.
They are very pretty. I agree. All right, so this is a nice looking cable. I really love this cable. Let's see. Does it charge? All right, so connected and wah wah, 0. So now the phone is not charging. All right, not charging with the pink cable, but it charges just fine with the certified cable. So Jim, your charging problem is a bad cable. Now, how'd you get a bad cable? Let's see what we can figure out about this cable. I want to give you a little bit of a tip when you're buying cables. Cables come in 2 flavors, the good kind and the shitty kind. This kind's the shitty kind. Let me tell you why. So I've got some cable examples over here, and I'm going to show you just really quickly kind of what you're looking for and a little bit of a trick that you can use to figure this stuff out. All right, so if you went and you got a white cable, 19 bucks from the Apple Store, it would look like this. So this is a actual certified cable. Let's take a quick look under the microscope and see what happens if I dissect this cable. So let's take a glance under the microscope, and this is what this cable looks like if I chop, oops, if I chop off the end, so this is the lightning connector that used to be there. I've chopped that off, and now you can see a bunch of chips there. Those chips, the big square one is a protection chip. So that is designed to isolate a fault away from your phone whenever there's some kind of a fluctuation or over temperature, over current, over voltage. Something's up from a potentially squirrely brick gets protected by those chips. So those are really important. Now let's take another cable. This is not a certified cable. This is just another random white one that I got from, Random Cables R Us. And let's see what it looks like under the microscope. Same thing, if I kind of dissect this end, now I see UYO1. So UYO1 is not a protection chip, and this cable then leaves your device at risk. Now, over time, the cable itself can experience damage and stop working entirely. But that generally happens when you have the non-certified cable. Now, how can you tell in advance when you're standing there at Target? One, you can read and look for that label made for iPhone, iPad, iPod, that little MFI label. That's not always there, though. And so one kind of little trick that you can get a little bit of a clue is that when you dissect the cables that are from the legit made for iPhone certified cords, they have a metal surround. The other cables tend to not include the metal surround, and they have this little chipset of fake chips surrounded by plastic. So one little trick that you can do is just take a magnet and see, just does this cable stand up to a magnet? So this is one of my certified cables. I have a magnet right here that I don't think I can pull out, but let's see if we can just hear it. So I've got all my little doodads up here on this magnet knife. It's like a knife block from IKEA. All right, there's my cable. Hear that? Magnet, and it's hands-free, sticking up there on the back of my station. Now let's take the pink cable. And let's just say, hey, pink cable, this seems like metal. Are you magnetic? Pink cable. Nope. Pink cable. Nope. All right, so there we go. So now we can have a really strong guess, even without dissecting this, that this was not a certified cable, that this was a, just somebody made up a beautiful cable and they put all their money in the pinkness and not in the protection chip. So that was really your problem with charging, was that this is not a certified cable. And that means that the phone itself is sort of at risk for a charging disease. So we might have to check on that later. Now let's talk about why your phone has no touch. So no touch is completely independent and completely separate from charging. So let's see. Non-MFI cables can make TriStar sad. Yes, it is. All right. So we're going to take this board back out, and we're going to see if we can fix up the touch, or at least prove the touch disease to you, and do a little fix on that. And get to the bus on time. That'll be a big challenge. All right, so let's talk. Touch disease is one of our flexion-based defects, and I love the little Lego board. So Lego board comes out whenever we have to talk about touch disease. So here's a Lego board. Now I like this Lego board as kind of a simulation, kind of a little education guide of your logic board. So inside the phone, the logic board, it's a whole lot the same as a Lego board. Now, if you imagine that the logic board is screwed down, as you know from opening this sucker up, screwed down inside your phone and secured and anchored to the phone itself by screws, then every time the phone kind of flexes and bends just from normal daily use, that logic board is getting sort of twisty, twisty, bendy, bendy, right? And now the phone itself, the frame, has some weak spots. There's a hole right here where the SIM tray is. There's holes where the power button and the volume buttons are. So there's weak spots up here in the north side of the phone. And if you imagine, just kind of like twisty, 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 little chips on the logic board, tiny little chips, are just going to float up and down like this purple one. But look at the brown one. The brown one, flip, 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 flip. See how it pulls up? See how the chip is pulling up? That is flexion-based problem. I'm going to tap it back down. All right, twisty, twisty, bendy, bendy. Whoop. It just, wherever there's that weak spot, whatever big chip is nearby is going to just pull up and lift up. And the weak spot is going to be underneath there, the little pad that the chip is soldered to. That pad gets pulled up and it has a little skinny neck. And when you pull up the pad, the neck of the pad is what gets torn off. Initially, it's just like bending a paper clip back and forth a bunch of times, and it weakens it. And that causes your sort of intermittent touch defect. This line is very, very specific that where we get problems. Let's take a look and see where that is. Over time, your intermittent touch turns into full-blown no touch at all. And then that means that that pad is actually becomes severed from the little underlying trace. All right, yay, finally made a stream. All right, so yes, chat helping, you know, please bro questions on chat makes it so that I can't really talk to you guys because I'm trying to, this turns into a video and I want for Jim to be able to follow along. And if you want to chat about this phone, fantastic. But if you guys are having to, you know, if you're chatting along and you think, Jessa doesn't read chat, if it's not related to this repair, then that just makes me likely to miss the bus, and I can't miss the bus. All right, so let's take a look, Jim, at the microscope, and I have already desoldered your touch chip. Let's take a look at it. So I'm gonna get rid of side cam, and here we are under the microscope. All right, so if we look at your board under the microscope down here at the bottom, this is totally normal looking, no water damage, nice and normal. This is your flash memory chip, nice and normal. You've been here before when you stuck some duct tape here. Now the duct tape doesn't really help with the problem because, you know, you could imagine like what happens if you just sort of duct tape and put a little pressure on here. It's still got that wiggly bendy. It's pulling up, you know. So that doesn't really help. Doesn't help long term. And what it does is it actually creates like a fulcrum right here because now you've got like a external pressure there. So this bendy twisty now kind of has, it's like me putting my thumb. That's really gonna like kind of make it worse even at times. All right, so, but let's look at your touch chip. You have two touch chips here, Cumulus, which we now know isn't really affected by touch disease at all. It took us a long time to figure that out. And we know that the primary cause here is at the Mason touch IC. So here's Mason. Now we can see your Mason I've taken off. I was using this phone as an example the other day. I took off Mason, and when I took off Mason, I'm missing a spot right here. I'm missing a pad. Now, why am I missing a pad right there and nowhere else? Answer, because it was already weak or severed. It was already weak or severed. So this couldn't be more classic. This, ladies and gentlemen, is touch disease, where you can see the little nub of a trace that's still left there. Let's see if we can focus that up for you, Jim, so that you can really see that. Let's see if we can get this camera even better. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it's kind of a divot where that pad is missing. Well, that pad's missing because it was yanked up by the Mason chip so many times that it eventually weakened like a paper clip being bent too many times. It weakened right exactly here. Right there. Poke, poke, see that? Now that is a trace, a little line, a little wire in the board. That thin neck that was holding your M1 pad in place, that was severed, and as a result, you have lost connection of your touch chip to a very important reset signal that resets touch. And so that is touch disease. So let's get that solved if we can. So let's go ahead and see if we can show Jim what a touch repair looks like. We have just a few minutes left, so I'm gonna try to do that. So first, I can't just leave that loose. I need to put something there. So I'm gonna see if I have time here. I don't know if I will have time, but we'll see. I haven't done a touch repair personally in a really long time. So we'll see if I can get this done before I have to go to the bus. Jessa versus the bus. That should be kind of like a regular thing, I think. It seems like every time I stream, it is always some kind of version of Jessa versus the bus. All right, Jim, we are going to make a jumper here. You see this thin little wire? I'm going to show you one of my gray hairs right next to that so that you can compare. Look at that. Gray hair from Jessa. Ooh, I took a brown one out. No! All right, there's a gray one on top. That's about the same. So this is stuff that's about the width of human hair. All right, so this is the wire, not my hair. I've learned that the hard way. Definitely learned that the hard way. All right, let's see. Jessa, is that the classic M1 pad? Yes, it is. It is the classic M1 pad. All right, so now I need to remove the insulation from this wire, which is going to be, this is so thin, it's a piece of human hair, but on the logic board, it's really substantial. And this is what's going to cure and immunize this phone from getting touch disease in the future. So what we need to do now is a little surgery to get this jumper soldered on in a spot that is going to just kind of extend this line. Oh, there's the hair on that. Oh, let's move it over so that you can see. All right, so what I'm trying to do is to just kind of solder this jumper. There we go, onto the spot that is the little microvia. That's a nearby kind of flat area that reset line goes to. All right, so we've got it soldered on there, and now I'm gonna cut it off. So all I need to do is to just make connection with the new Mason chip. So the new Mason chip is going to be like a lollipop, and what I have here is going to be like the stem for the lollipop. So we're going to wiggle it a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. Okay, and let's clean that up so that we can see if our spot is ready for a new Mason. Now you could just reball and put back on the old Mason, and there's nothing wrong with that. In this case, I think someone has stolen it because I used it as an example the other day, and just to kind of show, it was just sort of showing that audio IC disease and touch disease is exactly the same mechanism, that these pads are always loose or floppy. So I was just kind of making that point. And then I don't have that Mason anymore, so I'm pretty sure I can blame Jean for her Mason theft. So on this one, Jim, we don't have the option of putting your Mason back on, but if we did, we absolutely could. It would be totally fine. All right, so let's focus that up. So there we can see, Jim, that we have restored signaling from that reset line. I soldered right there. Here's my thin little jumper, and see how it's just poking right into where the M1 position is. So now we're gonna grab a new chip, put it back on there, and see if this phone has touch. Now, if it does have touch, then we will have permanent, never gonna have a problem with it, touch. We will no longer be able to get touch disease because just that thin bit of wire, the size of a human hair, adds enough strength that despite this sort of bouncing up and down that the logic board does, it's going to be able to sustain that without actually breaking again. So we can offer lifetime warranty, something that the Apple Store certainly is never going to do. And that's why independent repair is a really great option. All independent repair shops can fix your local cases of touch disease. Anybody that microsolders. And if you haven't yet learned to microsolder, come on and sign up for class. We've got our March class is starting. March class is going to be fun. It starts on Monday. Mark is coming into town. And it is a special one because it is my and Sunday's birthday. We were born on the exact same day. We are going to be depressing 45 years old. 45. So if a bunch of grandmas can fix touch disease, you can too.
Crap.
Crap? What?
Well, that means I'm already 45.
Wait, did you think you were 44?
Yeah.
And you just realized that you're actually 45?
Uh-huh.
Just now.
Yeah, when you said
Maybe
you're
I'm
45, and I said, no, you're wrong. And then I said, wait a minute. What year is it? Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I could have
No.
dementia. I mean,
No,
you know.
you're right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So you thought you had just turned 44?
In December, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see if we can put this back on. So we're going to heat this up. And I have just a few minutes here. So if anything goes wrong, we'll have to just pick this back up later, Jim. We'll see. There we go. That was a nice little movement into place. Everything looks good. And we're gonna test. So if we had a little bit more time, we would kind of let this board cool down, but we gotta go catch the bus. So let's see if this thing can boot up, and let's see if it actually has touch or not. All right, let's see. Okay. I'm gonna test this out. I think I did the same thing, Christy. I missed the entire year that I was 33. I thought I was 32 the whole time. Nope. It's funny how, like, you know, that would have never happened when I was 8.
I got an extra year when I was 23, though. I was convinced that I was 23 the whole year before my birthday.
Yeah.
And then, like, happy 23.
So you got to do 23 twice.
I'm turning 23 now.
Oh.
So I guess I'm giving back that year now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thought the LCD was buggered and then realized it's the reflection in the overhead cam. Yeah, trying to work out all this stuff. It's got, you know, there's a lot of issues with autofocus, and it's a lot of issues with also trying to see chat. I don't have a lot of good visibility. A lot of stuff goes in and out of focus. Maybe one day we'll figure it out. All right, let's see if we can get this on here. And we will see whether or not that worked. Now this phone, because of that history, while it's sort of out, I would go ahead and replace TriStar just in case there was any charger damage, because that pink cable probably didn't not work the entire time. It probably was killed. So there probably was some kind of an electrical insult that then, you know, kind of got ferried on up the line. So the board may have actually kind of been punched in the face on the charging voltage. So I would probably replace TriStar anyway, but let's just see what we can do right now. And let's see if we can make the bus. Really coming down to the wire. It is 2:47, and I need to pick up little girls at 3 o'clock. So that is going to be tight. That screen is not on. Boo. All right. Whoever said the LCD was buggered. Maybe you're right. Let's see. I think I just didn't connect it very well. All right, we're gonna try that again. All right, let's see. All right, progress. All right, let's move this out of the way. All right, so now we're gonna see. All right, should PP-GPU be present even with no display? You tell me. If you were a designer, would you make something called power for the GPU be present if there was no display? You tell me. What do you think? Richard thought he was 32 for a year when he was 33, and then his wife had to correct him. Yes, touch is working. Hooray! All right, so there you go. So now we have a phone that has, let's check your doesn't power off thing. So you thought the power button didn't work. That doesn't sound like a typical problem. And I think that we're probably okay on that. Yeah, I think that'll work. All right, so I have to go. And there you go, Jim. Now you know what was wrong with your phone. You had a combination of unfortunate things, but they're all pretty classic and pretty common, and it really is to your credit that you seem to have done all that you could do for research. You went to the OEM, you went and had good thought process, you read your manual. Good job, Jim. And now you know how important it is to get certified cables, and you know that a lot of these phones get touch disease, they get flexion-based defects, and you gotta just kind of go to an independent repair shop that has good industry knowledge. These things are often really repairable, but not with the OEM repair. You gotta get to your independent repair. Trusted folks, whoever's got good reviews that's near you, and they'll be able to fix up a lot of this stuff for you. Or you can always use, you know, mail-in repair service, or come and learn how to do it yourself. Sign up for Practical Board Repair School. And that's all the time we have for today. I will see you next time. And Jim, good luck. Thank you for sending us this phone. We're going to use it. We're going to actually send it to a guy in Africa that needs a phone. And so we're going to give it a good life. Thank you very much.